So I run all these thought experiments on what I think
Go, shoot.
needs to happen before this can become more valuable. One of the one of the thought experiments I started running a while ago was asking myself, at what stage. So I think about a car company, right? I worked for GM for a lot of years.
Yeah.
In the design department, and at what stage can you give an AI the problem of designing a production car, and it being able to generate all of the CAD data to put that thing into production, including things like, the layout of the factory, the way that components nest together, the way that, basically replacing the job of the 500 engineers and the accountants and the designers and all of the people related to that scope of work. At what stage will it be able to do that?
Yeah.
And I see it getting to that end as an inevitability. Like, there is going to be a point in the future.
100%.
Right? So it's a question of when. And that means it has to understand not only, at the moment, it could come up with a picture of a car, but to take into account, the way that steel folds, and crushes under a crash condition, the way that it's formed, when presses operate, seat deformation, when a person sits on it, all of these millions of little things that thousands and thousands of engineers and designers and fabricators have to think of, all of this embedded knowledge that goes into something like that, for a product of which you're building a giant factory to make 1 million of them.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of it that I don't want to say comes down to intuition, because that intuition would be from repeated hours and hours and hours of doing the same thing, and then making making the mistakes, and then refining that, making those mistakes, refining that, and then it's just a process till you get to a certain point. Like, this is the outcome. This is the optimal outcome. But behind that outcome, there's thousands of ones that didn't work out, and it could be down just to real small design consideration. Like if you're talking about a particular curve over a bonnet, if we're talking about cars, it could be, like all those things that you said, but also just considering like just the wind flow, all of these things. And then it just becomes intuition. So if you're a designer that has been designing cars for years, you will just know to do this, not that. And you're not even thinking about it. You're just doing it. And then when you have accumulated this wealth of knowledge, this library, this bank, you're able to then develop things without the thought. But then when that gets inputted into AI doesn't know all the things not to do, right? But so how would it then consider that?
I guess when you think about when a person knows not to do something, right? Somebody will tell us, somebody might explain to us, like, oh, you can't, there is something, can I move this object here? We'll talk about the car situation. Can I do this or can I do that? And an engineer might come and say, you can't do that for this reason. Or somebody from sales and marketing says, well, you can't have hot pink for the fact that no one will buy it. We have all of these barriers, all these boundaries that we build up like as in a map in our mind for what you can and can't do. That kind of gives us the scope of what's possible, and I think AI is really good at dealing with those.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is, but it needs if it could, and I guess at the core of that thought experiment, if it had the same levels of restrictions of the boundaries that we put on anything that we make, what would it come up with? How, what sort of solutions could it find that we're currently maybe blind to?
So do you, those limitations, and that's what I was saying, is like, Some we're very conscious of, and some of them we're no longer conscious of because it's just been embedded into how we do things. We can explain the why if we want to explore it. Like we made this choice. Why? Because of this. Why? Because of that. You can peel back those layers. But if AI, if it doesn't understand the why or the why to the why,
Yeah.
then how does it start compounding what is going to be the optimal design?
So I think this is going to be a question of how it simulates,
Yeah.
right? And I think
Yeah, real world use of it.
yeah, exactly. So in terms of physicality, I think the quality of its simulation is going to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right. So it could be doing background simulations on like pedestrian safety. It could run, as it's developing a design for something, it can be doing wind testing, it can be doing occupant safety testing, it can be doing pedestrian safety testing, all in the background as like a physics simulation while it's generating the rest of the design of the shape. I guess what's really exciting for me though, so many of the things that I experienced, working in automotive for a while, for quite a while, was when you get pushback on something, so often the reason was because we have we do this because we've developed a solution for it. It might be a 50-year-old solution, right? Why does a window wind up this way and not some other way? So I go, well, we have a well-tested, well-thought-out solution for it, and to try and come up with something better would be a lot of like tens of thousands of engineering hours. Engineers sitting there iterating on something further. And it's like, why would we do that if we already have a solution?
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Now, if an AI were to come up with a car from scratch with none of those boundaries, right, where it just has to put more processing time into optimizing everything, what gains could it find? What solutions would it find that we currently can't come up with because it just doesn't make economic sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could we be driving around in cars that are 30% lighter? Possibly.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning that, you only, maybe, and you think about what sort of efficiency we gain as a society if things are cheaper to make, easier to make.
So then AI will also need to have a real high degree of innovation plugged into that as well.
I think it's going to happen naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if the focus is on optimizing the economic, the economic outcome, it is going to make things cheaper to produce.
Yeah.
If it's optimized to do, a network of things, so make it cheaper to produce, make it safer, make it quieter, make it more efficient, it will be able to iterate orders of magnitude faster than we can.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I see that. And it could be a matter of like, it'll come up with a design and then, to the human eye, like we can't do that because of this particular material. The material won't be able to fold in this way. And then the AI will be like, well, it just so happens I've just now come up with this new material. Here's this new compound based on all this other shit that has been fed to me.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And of course, you'll have, when you think about the way humans work. All right. So in a large company with hundreds of thousands of people, I give you as a team is solving a problem, right? You go off and you work as a team to come up with an outcome. You come back and I present my side of the solution. You present your side of the solution. We see where they don't work. Then we go off into our silos again. We work on them, and the iteration it's slow.
Yeah.
And this would be like boom, instant. Yeah. So because it's one singular system that doesn't have to go through that process. The outcome is So and I guess going back to the thought experiment, at what stage will an AI be able to do the rudiments of that? And I mean, I think it's like 15, 20 years.